Thank you, Len. And good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our 2020 Census Highlights. I'm William Gill, and we will also be co-presenting with Craig Azuma. So we'll start talking about what is the decennial census. So the decennial census is conducted every 10 years. It is a mandated survey by the U.S. Constitution, and it is a self-reported survey. This is different from the American Community Survey, which is done annually and is based off of a sample size of the population. Now, why is this important? It is important because it affects redistricting, which affects apportionment, meaning representation in Congress, and ultimately government funding in all levels of geographies. And looking back at how we fared in 2010, the population grew to 308 million, which was a gain of over 22 million people at a growth rate of 9.7%. Since then, in 2020, we grew 7.4%, a little bit slower. However, we gained an additional 22 million and now stand at 331 million residents. At this point, we would like to point out the differences between race and ethnicity. So race is one of the larger groups like white, black, American Indian, Alaska Native, Asian, Native Hawaiian, or Pacific Islander, as well as other race or two or more races. Hispanic origin is considered an ethnicity and may be applied to any of these races. So you may be Hispanic white or non-Hispanic white, and the same can be applied to any of the other race groups. So now looking here, this is the breakdown of how these race groups have fared in 2020. And we will also note that for this past census, there was a large push by the Census Bureau as well as social media to help people self-identify themselves. So because of that, we may have seen some shifting in some of these categories. And so we can see that the single race population has shrunk slightly at 0.7%, while the two or more race category down here has nearly tripled. The white population has decreased in 2020, down over 8%, and their share has also shrunk from 72% to over 61%. All races did grow, with the highest being the other race category at over 46%. The black population grew the slowest at 5.6%, and the Asian population grew healthily over 35.5%. Next, we'll be looking at Hispanic origin. And so these here are Hispanics of any race compared to non-Hispanics, again, of any race. And so the Hispanic population did grow 23%, increasing their share from just over 16% to nearly 19% in 2020. They gained over 11.5 million people and now total over 62 million. Now, looking at the breakdown by region, we can see that that the Midwest and Northeast grew slower than the national average of 7.4%, while the West and South grew at a faster rate. The South edged out the West by 1%, and this includes states such as Florida, the Carolinas, and Texas, which also had a high migration rates. And looking at the numerical values of these regions, we can see that meanwhile the Midwest grew slower than the Northeast, it still remains more populous by about 11 million residents. The Northeast did gain 2.2 million, while the Midwest gained over 2 million. Very similar numbers there. The West gained 6.6 million, while the South gained nearly 23 million, and being the most populous region with 126 million total residents. And breaking it down even further to states, we can see individual growth rates. We did have three states that had negative growth, those being West Virginia, Mississippi, and Illinois. Utah and Idaho had the highest growth rates at 18.4 and 17.3 respectively. This is also from a smaller base. Utah gave a numerical value of just over 500,000, while Idaho gained nearly 300,000 people. Texas gained nearly 4 million people, Florida over 2.5 million, and California gained over 2 million. California, Texas, Florida, and New York are the most populous states, and they all have over 20 million residents. Taking a look at the Northeast region, um, we can see that New Jersey here has grown at a rate of 5.7%, which is faster than the region's average of 4.1%. We did outpace our immediate neighbors in the region, such as Pennsylvania and New York, who grew at 2.4% and 4.2% respectively. Delaware here is considered part of the southern region, but they did outpace us at 10.2%. In the region, we are ranked second, just behind Massachusetts, who grew at 7.4%, and we are ranked 25th nationwide. In terms of population, we are ranked 11th overall, and as we have gained over 500,000 people and are now officially over the 9 million resident mark. This here is a census tool that is on their website, and we have also linked it below. It is a Tableau dashboard that shows apportionment and the change in seats that we have seen due to the 2020 census. The dashboard is interactive, and when you hover over, you can see the different states' details. And the light shaded areas here are the states that had no change in representation, while the orange states are the ones that lost a seat. 5 states in this medium gray shade did gain 1 seat, and Texas, with the darkest, was the only state to gain 2 seats. And this here is a zoomed out version of what this dashboard looks like. You do have different selections that you could choose here from a different decennial census. Right now we're looking at apportionment data, but we can also look at population data. When you hover over the states, you are able to see their detailed information here. And so looking at New Jersey, we can see that we have maintained 12 representatives showing 0 change from 2010. And we have a ratio of 774,000 residents per representative. This here is the same dashboard, but now looking at population rather than apportionment. This here is showing density, and we can see that the Northeast region over here remains very densely populated. This does also include Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., which are also heavily populated. Florida, Illinois, California, Virginia, North Carolina, and Ohio are this little darker shade of gray, which means that they are also densely populated. And this here is just us hovering over New Jersey to see the details that the dashboard shows us. And again, we are over 9 million people. We have been growing at a rate of 5.7%. Our population density is over 1,200 per square mile. And here we are ranked second because, again, this does also include Washington, D.C., who is ranked first. When we drop Washington, D.C. and include only the 50 states, we are the #1 most densely populated state.
Okay, thank you, Will. I am going to be taking over here a little bit for some of the counties, regional, and municipality data here for New Jersey. Uh, Once again, thank you all for coming out. And as more and more people come into the presentation, we'll be sure to let them in. So starting out with the population density here for New Jersey, uh, once again, we are the most populated density state, with the exception of Washington, D.C. On average, the United States has a population density of 99.2 persons per square mile, where here in New Jersey we can clearly see that we have 1,263 persons per square mile. This is heavily influenced from our most population dense counties, such as Hudson County, Essex County, County, Bergen County, and Passaic County. And these counties have been influenced, specifically Hudson County has been influenced by the municipality's population density. Gutenberg Town, Union City, West New York, and Hoboken City all reside within Hudson County. These counties and these municipalities continue to be the most populated, dense portions of the state. And Salem County and Walpack Township in Sussex County continue to be the least population dense here in New Jersey. To help us visualize this, we have a county and municipality population density map here. And as we can see, the large clusters of the dark shaded uh, municipalities in Hudson County, Essex County, and Bergen County really do influence the more population dense counties overall, with that northeast corner here in New Jersey really becoming more dense. And we see also that down south, there's a little cluster of population density beginning to form in Camden County. Moving on to the mean center of population here. The mean center of population, for people who are not familiar with what the mean center of population is imagine if we had all the residents in the United States spread out evenly population-wise throughout the country. And if we were to find a balancing point, where would that balancing point be? This balancing point, or this center point here, as we can see, continues for the nation to continue south and west well into Missouri. Um, and even though we started in Maryland, we're seeing a trend. It looks like it's going to continue throughout the years here. For New Jersey, we have a center of population ourselves, and um, our mean center of population tends to be headed towards the south and east. In 2020, however, it nested mostly within East Brunswick Township, resting firmly within Middlesex County. These mean center of populations all tend to follow that blue line that you see on the left-hand side, and that blue line happens to be a major artery here in New Jersey, being Interstate 95. So it makes sense that a large portion of the population, the mean center of the population, would follow suit. In terms of the percentage change for the population density, when we compare the last decade to this decade's worth of changes, the biggest change here is from Essex County, which was showing originally some negative population density growth to a now very positive 9.2 percentage growth in change overall. Um, in terms of the largest decrease, Atlantic County saw that it was had increased in population density to around 8% back in 2000 to 2010, and now it is only around 0.02% in terms of population density growth. Um, we can see that Sussex County, Salem County, Cumberland County, and Cape May County were the counties that actually lost population density and became less dense as the decade has continued on. In terms of the fastest growing counties, percentage-wise, Hudson County grew the fastest compared to all the other counties. Hudson County was also the only county to have double-digit growth. And in terms of numeric value, Hudson County once again added the most residents here with 90,000 new residents, followed by Essex County, Ocean County, Middlesex County, and Bergen County. Cumberland and Sussex County were the two counties that lost the most residents during the 10-year transition, but these top five counties accounted for more than 51% of the state's total population growth. So we're seeing a large amount of people move into these five counties here. In terms of numerical values, uh, the top seven counties in terms of population tend to be the same as they were back in 2010. However, Middlesex and Essex County were always relatively close, but Essex County has finally overlapped Middlesex County, and they seem to be closer than ever, with only being a few hundred residents separating them. The only two counties here in New Jersey with less than 100,000 people in them are Cape May and Salem counties. All the other counties here in New Jersey have at least 100,000 in terms of population. Moving on to the regions here in New Jersey, uh, we have the regions here broken out in by color for people who are unfamiliar with the regional sections here in New Jersey. The Northeast here is in green, the Northwest is in yellow, the Central region is in blue, the Coastal region is in red, and the Southern region is in purple. And some breakdowns and quick changes here for the census for these regions are shown here. We see New Jersey overall, the Northeast region led the most amount of growth, and the Northwest region was the only region to have lost population. We'll go into each one of these in case you missed it on the map. Um, which one of these regions, each one of these regions, what their counties are, and we'll go a little bit more in depth. So we're going to start here with the Northwest region, which is comprised of Sussex and Warren County. With the only region to have a population loss of minus 1.6% and nearly a numerical change of 4,000 residents, that loss of residency was led mostly by completely by Sussex County, which had lost 5,000 residents, as we saw previously here. Warren County, the only other county within the Northwest region, even though they had a positive growth and had a positive change, it wasn't enough to offset the loss incurred in Sussex County here. Um, these two counties in this region comprise close to 3% of New Jersey's population. So it's not a very large base population here, but it is an important part of New Jersey. As for the region that grew the most and grew the fastest here, was the Northeast region here, which comprises of Bergen County, Essex County, Hudson County, Morris County, Passaic County, and Union County. Um, the this region grew by nearly 280 grew over 280,000, and and the growth rate was led by Hudson County, once again growing at 12.5%. These six counties account for more than 39% of New Jersey's residents here. And moving on, the central region, which comprises of Hunterdon, Mercer County, Middlesex, and Somerset counties, grew at around 5.6%. So they still had growth, and they're still continuing to grow, like when they did from 2000 to 2010. This population was gained close to 96,000 here, and Somerset County led this region in growth. Hunterdon County had the slowest amount of growth in this region, with only 0.5% of residents growing here. This region is home to over 18% of the population here in 2020. The coastal region, which comprises of Atlantic County, Cape May County, Monmouth, and Ocean counties, grew by 4.4%, and it grew by over 71,000. However, Ocean County had the largest gain among the regions and contributed the mostly to the population gain among this region, with 60,662 new residents. This is 84.4% of the growth in the coastal region. And Atlantic County had the least amount of growth with an actual tiny decline of negative 0.1%. This coastal region is home to over 17% of New Jersey's current residents. And finally, the southern region of Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, and Salem counties also showed decent growth here. And Salem County, unfortunately, though, had a population decrease of 1.9%, but Gloucester County grew the most with 14,000 new residents. This southern region here is home to over 14% of the population. Moving on to our municipalities here. Uh, The largest municipalities in New Jersey still continue to be from 2000 and 2010. These top 10 largest cities comprising of Newark, Jersey City, Paterson, Elizabeth, Lakewood Township, Edison, Woodbridge, Toms River, Hamilton, and Trenton. Um, the total population in these largest cities increased by over 11.7%. Lakewood Township, Woodbridge Township, and Edison Township all join the 100,000 resident threshold. It's important to note that the total municipalities um, uh, are now 564 uh, since Pine Valley has since merged with Pine Hill Borough. Uh, However, during the 2020 census, it was still a separate residence. So for those natives here that are aware of that change, that's why it's not reflected currently in this 2020 census data. As of the 2020 census, it was still a separate municipality. These 10 largest municipalities here um, did not have any population lost, whereas from 2000 to 2010, Trenton had lost some of its resident population. Oop. And in uh, as we know, 7 of these municipalities, three of them have joined this threshold, but 27 municipalities have populations of greater than 50,000, but less than 100,000. Um, those 27 municipalities account for 21% of New Jersey's residents, and that growth of that group grew around 4.9%. The total combined amount here account for about 71% of residents here between the 50 above 50,000 resident population. And the 3 municipalities that moved from this 50,000 to 100,000 municipality range is why there are less municipalities in this 50 to 100,000 population range from 2000. Um, Now, in terms of the 207 municipalities that have populations between 10,000 and 50,000, this is less than 2000 to 2010's municipalities. And that's because Princeton Borough ended up merging with Princeton Township. Keensburg Borough in Monmouth had lost population, taking it out of the 10,000 resident threshold. And Colts Neck Borough uh, fell out of the 10,000 resident uh, requirement in order to fit within this statistic. Um, these uh, 207 municipalities account for 50% of New Jersey's residents and have shown that they have about 2% of growth here. And then for the in terms of in terms of the municipalities with less than 1,000 residents in it, the population had a slight decline. In terms of the largest numerical growth, uh, Jersey City once again uh, leading the largest municipal growth, followed by Lakewood Township in Ocean County. This is followed by a very large increase from 2000 to 2010, where Lakewood Township also showed quite a large amount of double-digit growth. Newark City, Patterson City, Elizabeth City, and Hoboken City all had a population increase of at least 10,000 residents. There are 11 more municipalities that also should be taken note of here that grew by over 5,000 residents. Most of them are nestled in Middlesex, Hudson, and Essex counties, and those municipalities are Monroe Township, Bayonne City, Edison Township, Irvington, Clifton City, Franklin Township in Somerset County, Trenton, Secaucus, Harrison Town, Bloomfield Township, and East Orange City. In terms of the municipalities that lost the most amount of population, Camden City led the most amount of loss here, with the only municipality breaking more than 2,000 residents lost between the 2010 and 2020 decade here. Um, the counties that had the most municipalities with population loss continue to be Cape May, Sussex, and Atlantic counties. In terms of growth rate, Lakewood Township has the largest population growth rate, as we saw through their large population growth over the last 10 years, followed by Harrison Town, Weehawken Township, Secaucus Town, and Woodridge Borough in Bergen County. Um, it is the only Lakewood Township is the only municipality that has over 100,000 residents on this list. Um, Now, not being counted in this highest population growth rate is Tavistock and Pine Valley, as they have less than 30 people in their population base, and it would heavily change and impact the population growth rate while not really providing a large impact here. Um, if you wish to know, Tavistock Borough and Pine Valley had a growth rate of 44% and 42.8%. And once again, Pine Valley no longer exists as it has since merged with the Pine Hill Borough. Moving on, we will start talking about New Jersey's ever-growing diversity.
uh, which has grown along with New Jersey's population. Yes, so here are some maps where we reflect back on 2000, 2010, and the recent 2020 census. So these heat maps reflect the minority concentration by county, where the darker shades are counties that have 50% or more of the population identifying as minority. For our purpose, we're defining minority as any group other than non-Hispanic white. The minority population has continued to increase in New Jersey, where in 2000 it was 34%, 2010 it was 40.7%, and then the most recent census is 48.1%. And this change is more notable here, going along with what Craig just said. In the Northeast, we have seen an overall population growth, as well as the minority population still continuing to grow its share. And we can also see that we have gained more counties along the Northeast Corridor, which is a major transit hub, train line connecting New York to Trenton, as well as the New Jersey Turnpike. We also have Cumberland County over here, which has grown from 49.7% to 57.3%. Seven counties are now majority minority, this being Cumberland, Hudson, Essex, Middlesex, Mercer, Passaic, and Union County. Essex County up north has the highest proportion at 72.8%, and Cape May down south has the lowest proportion at 16%. Now here's a similar table to what we looked at earlier, but this here focuses on New Jersey's population. And we do see a similar trend as to what we saw earlier. The two or more race category here has also nearly tripled. The all races here did show growth, um, with the exception of the white population, which was down 15%, and their share has gone from 68% down to 55%. And again, this could be due to movement in how people identified. And all other race groups did increase, with the Black population increasing the slowest at 1.2%, and the Asian population here also growing at 31%. We do see that the American Indian Alaska Native population, they grew at 76%, but this was from a small base, but they still gained 22,000 people. Next, we're going to be looking at Hispanic origin, where we could see that it grew over 28%, and they increased their share from 17% to 21%, and they gained nearly 500,000 people. And here we're getting a visual representation of how New Jersey fares against the US. So again, we do see a similar trend where most race groups are going in the same direction, while all race groups are going in the same direction. Um, yeah, so the white population in both has seen a bit of a decline, with New Jersey a little bit higher. The Black population did grow the slowest of these larger race groups in both. And again, our American Indian Alaska Native population here grew significantly more in terms of growth rate. Oh, sorry about that. And yes, and the Asian population continued to show healthy gains. And the two or more population down here, again, showing the same pattern in both. Now looking at Hispanic origin, they're all going in the same direction, but we outpaced the US by over 5%. And the non-Hispanic groups over here grew significantly slower than the rest of the country. So here we're looking at municipalities that are 50% or more minority, like we saw in the counties. The ones shaded here in yellow are where the total population considers themselves minority, which again is anyone that identified as not Hispanic white. Here we are looking at 565 municipalities. Since then, we did have a merger, as Craig mentioned earlier. And yeah, so here we have 112 municipalities that were majority minority, being all shaded in yellow. 28 of these municipalities were over 80% minority, and 11 of these were over 90% minority. Irvington, up in Essex County, led with 98.4% of the total population being minority, which was just ahead of East Orange, also in Essex County, which was at 98%. Newark, up north, also in Essex County, it's our largest municipality, and it also holds the largest minority population in terms of numericals, at 286,000 people, which accounts for 92% of its total population. And that is followed by Jersey City, Patterson, Elizabeth, and Trenton. And this map here shows where the larger minority groups that we have, being Asian, African American, and Hispanics, hold 50% or more of the population in the municipality. So again, the yellow ones are just the total minority population. But yeah, the ones shaded in red represent Asian population, where we have 4 municipalities. We've got one in Bergen, Middlesex, and in Mercer, with the largest concentration of the Asian population being in Middlesex. 7 municipalities of these shaded in green represent the Black population, where they are the majority. The largest proportion is in Essex County, where over 38% of the population identified as Black. Excuse me. Sorry, had a bad scroll there. Yes. Next, the Hispanic population is represented by the blue shade, where we have 22 of these. Focus up north, we've got some down here in the southern region as well. And Passaic County up north holds the highest proportion at nearly 43% of its total population. Now, again, the Asian population is ever growing, and it has shown significant growth over the decades. As we remember, right now it has grown over 30%. So for that reason, we decided to drop the threshold from 50% down to 30% to see where this population is. So after doing so, we went from 4 municipalities that have 50% or more to 20 municipalities that have over 30% of the population identifying as Asian. Um, None of these gained municipalities actually replace any of the other municipalities that were African American or Hispanic. Um, excuse me, that were Black or African American or Hispanic majority. And we did gain 6 up here up north, which are Alpine, Gloucester, Cresskill, Demarest, Norwood, Tenafly, and Milburn in Middlesex. And we would also like to note that Asian encompasses East Asians as well as South Asian, meaning the Indian subcontinent, as well as some countries in the Middle East. Right. This here is also a census tool that is on their website, and we have provided links for these tools in the descriptions of these slides, which will be posted later on. But yeah, so this here is also an interactive dashboard where you could hover over and change the years as well as see what each one of these groups here represent. So, so New Jersey has aged a little bit. We have increased our median age from 39 to 39.9 years old. The population under 18 has decreased by almost 2%, while the population over 65 has increased 3%. Um, the amount of centenarians, being people who are 100 years or older, has increased from 1,500 in 2010 to over 2,500 in 2020. The majority of these being female, so females do live longer, where females accounted for over 2,100 and males just 521. So here we're comparing the age groups from 2010 and how we fared in 2020. The largest cohort in 2020 being between 55 to 59. And we saw an overall increase in those over 55. The growth, yeah, we did also see growth over here in the between the ages of, we saw growth between the ages of 10 to 39. And we did see a decline in those between the ages of 40 to 54, and a decrease in children under 9. All right. So now comparing females to males by age, again, does seem like females do live longer than we do, well, than males. Yeah, so we can see that males have a higher population up until about the 24 to 25 gap right here. Going forward, females seem to increase that gap between the ages. So both did increase their median ages, where females were 40.3 in 2010 and males were 37.4 in 2020. That has increased to females being an average of 41.2 and males having a median age of 38.3. Males are more populous, again, in the age group below 24, 24 and under, while females are more populous in those over 25. And the largest groups for both are between 35 to 49, and the largest cohort of this being between 40 to 44, right here.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly give a brief overview of some of the New Jersey housing characteristics. And starting off here with the demographic profile here, I know there's a lot of text on here, but it is all important. The amount of housing units in New Jersey grew by over 200,000 from in 2020 from 2010. Although our growth rate was a little lower than the national average, it's important to note that this growth rate was still positive and was still good. It's also important to note that uh, this total housing unit increase does not mean the total occupied housing unit has been increased, as those are two separate measurements. Hudson County added the most housing over the decade with 42,371 new residents, followed by Middlesex and Essex counties, which followed at around 20,000 new housing units. Hudson County, in terms of total housing units, had the fastest growth rate at 13.5%. However, uh, the housing vacancy rate here in New Jersey has decreased from 9.5% to 8.9%. And these vacancy rates decreased in all counties, in almost all counties here, with Bergen County, Camden County, Essex, Hudson, Monmouth, Morris, Ocean, Passaic, Sussex, Union, and Warren counties all having a decrease in housing vacancy. Um, One of the very few highest vacancy rate increases was Salem County with 1.4%. Uh, Going in a little more into detail about some of the housing uh, profiles here in New Jersey. New Jersey home ownership declined in every county. Mercer County had the biggest decrease at over 6%. Hunterdon County and Sussex County still have the highest home ownership rates, and Hudson County and Essex County continue to have the lowest home ownership rates here in New Jersey. Uh, our average household size as well has decreased from our 2010 average household size by zero point zero 0.02. And the national household average has also decreased from their 2010 2.58 to 2.55. So we're seeing here that household size is slowly decreasing for the past decade. In terms of housing tenure here, we can see the shift between 2010 and 2020, as there are now, in terms of the total occupied housing units, 3,426,102. In 2020, we can see that the owner occupied housing units accounted for 2,098,500, and the renter occupied units were around 1,327,602 units. It's important to note that the owner occupied percentage of housing tenure here in New Jersey has decreased from 65.1% down to 61.3%, while our renter occupied housing tenure has increased from 34.9% to 38.7%. So we're seeing a little bit of a shift here uh, where more housing units are being occupied by renters than homeowners. And this is continuing a trend from 2000 to 2010. Uh, Breaking down some more household characteristics, family households grew faster than non-family households, where non-family households had a slight decrease by 0.07, and family households grew by 1.43%. However, this is very, very at odds here with the national growth for 6.39% for family households and 10.9% for non-family households. In terms of family households, Cumberland County had the largest drop at 7.52 percent decrease, and the greatest increase in family households was in Ocean County with 1.62%. Here in New Jersey, we like to keep a track of some other household characteristics, one of them being female householders with no spouse present. Uh, this particular key statistic showed that we had an increase from 2010 by over 70,000. This large increase is nearly 32.9% of an increase, where it increased from 144,718 to 215,664 household. Married couples in New Jersey, however, had an increase by nearly 200,000. This increase is about 15.6%, and it grew from 2010's 1,083,000 to 2020's current 1,282,000. For the first time, the same-sex spouse households have also been tracked, and they were and tracked separately. This number here in New Jersey was 17,331. Moving on into the last category here of the housing characteristics is the group quarters. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the group quarters and how they're defined by institutionalized populations and non-institutionalized populations. Examples of an institution would be like a correctional facility, a nursing facility, or other institutional facilities where um, is some form of freedom of movement or requires reliability that determines what is and what is not considered to be institutionalized. Non-institutionalized populations include colleges, universities, military quarters, other group gatherings that people aren't required to be in. That being said, the group quarters population in New Jersey fell overall by 3.6%. This is continuing a trend from 2010, where the group quarters population fell back then as well. The biggest contributor to this is the institutionalized population in New Jersey fell by over 19.5%. And this is showing that it's falling faster than when it did back in 2000 to 2010, where it had only fallen by 8.7%. Um, this is mostly due to juvenile and adult correctional facilities losing nearly 6,000 residents, and with a slight decrease in other institutional populations. Uh, Now, our non-institutionalized populations that are part of the group quarters grew by 10.2%, with 9,600 new residents. And the non-institutionalized population grew faster than it did in 2000 and 2010, where it had only grown by 1.9%. Um, the overall contributor to the non-institutionalized population growth was done through college students, where they had contributed almost all of the growth here for the non-institutionalized population. This presentation had covered the appropriate files, the redistricting files released back in September, and the demographic and housing characteristics released on May 25th last year. It's important to note that there are some more products coming out of the census. Recently released was the Demographic Housing Characteristics Part A, which was released in September of last year. The Demographic Housing Characteristics Part B is going to be released in fall later this year, and the Intercensional Population Estimates is also going to be released later in fall this year. For those of you who are unfamiliar with these tables, the DHCA uh, housing characteristics file consists of multiple data tables and provides data on detailed race and ethnicity groups, such as German, Lebanese, Jamaican, Chinese, Native Hawaiian, and Mexican ethnicity groups, as well as information on the American Indian and Alaska Native tribes and villages like the Navajo Nation. The detailed DHCA tables can be viewed down to a census tract level when population thresholds have been met. The DHCB file includes household type and tenure data for approximately 1,500 detailed racial and ethnic groups, as well as American Indian and Alaska Native tribes and villages. Um, if you have any questions, obviously, we'll be here to answer them afterwards. But if you have one that comes up and or you think about it later on, you can feel free to give us a call here at the New Jersey State Data Center. Or you can feel free to write us an email if you think that you might need some time to write something out. We're always available. Please feel free to send us an email here at the Department of Labor. Finally, I'd like to thank everyone for coming and being a part of this. We will now go back and try and see what we can try and answer here in the chat. I see that we have some questions already. So uh, we will do our best here to try and answer that as soon as we can here. So again,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thanks, Will and Craig. Yeah, let's try to answer some of these questions. We have one on the regional map. It seems Delaware State is in the South region instead of the Northeast. Do you know the reason?
Yeah, that's just the way that the Census Bureau
Yes.
classified it. So Delaware is considered part of the Southern region by the Census Bureau.
Yeah.
Sometimes those breaks are based on commutation patterns. So for Delaware, there's probably a larger draw to the Maryland, D.C. Area than further north. So sometimes commutation patterns are used to determine what regions certain states fall into.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah,
provide the population growth by county? So we covered that a little bit here. So let me see if I can quickly hop to that slide again for you
yeah, we did it. We
here.
broke things out by region.
Yeah,
We didn't have them all necessarily in one place.
yeah. Um, so Simon here, here are the population growth rates by county here, in case you need to know that. Of course, if you need a full list, we can always feel free to email here. Um, any plans to update the 2014 to 2034 population projections? Those are really popular across the street here at
Yeah.
DHS.
Yeah, we're working on that. We have a new research economist who is going to be working on a new set of projections. So stay tuned on that. It's been something we've been wanting to do. Unfortunately, we have not been able to keep our research economist position staffed over the last several years since Dr. Wu retired. But we're optimistic that we're going to have a set of projections relatively soon. So stay tuned on that. Let's see. Thank you for the information. It is useful. Is there a similar presentation for businesses? Well, that's something that we're sort of in discussion now in terms of doing additional presentations related to not only the American Community Survey data, but the population estimates as well. So that's another one that we can definitely see what we can come up with and do a future webinar. So thank you for that suggestion. Let's see, do you have data that show the number and origin of foreign trained healthcare professionals in New Jersey? We have data sources that we can tap to try to come up with those numbers. If you'd like to email me with a request, we do cross-tabulation data from the American Community Survey, their public use microdata sample data. It allows us to do a number of different cross-tabulations. So we may be able to come up with a reliable number from that. Yes. So please email me with a specific request and we'll see what we can do for you. Do we have any other questions? Feel free to unmute your mic and ask a question or continue to chat. Let's see, what is the most recent data available on in and out migration for New Jersey and its counties? That would probably come from the American Community Survey. The Census Bureau also produces a special migration data set out of the American Community Survey as well. So we do have that data available. It would probably be based on the 2022 American Community Survey data release. So again, if you would like that data, just send us an email and we'll see what we can do to get it to you. Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. Excellent maps and helpful demo information. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And, okay. Is there any data on the number of foreign-born people that start? Whoops, sorry, just jumped away from me. That start businesses in research and development sector? I couldn't answer that. I'd have to look into that one. That's a pretty well-defined request. I'm not sure that data is available as you're stating it, but we can certainly check. Again, you can shoot me an email. We'll try to provide that data for you. Let's see. It will be interesting to see the current housing stats since we are currently in an inventory shortage with record high prices. Let's see. Is employment growth rate by county available? Yes. Yes, we can provide that information. Again, just shoot us an email with a specific request, and we'll do that. You mentioned population decline like it's a bad thing. Doesn't it depend primarily on the causes? Yes, it does, but population growth affects a number of things. Population growth affects employment growth for the state as well. So we kind of get a little concerned when we see too much of a decline in population. But that's the main reason. We're the Department of Labor. It's a factor, obviously, in employment growth. So it's something that concerns us as well as other state agencies. And going back to the question about current housing stats, if there's something specific that you're looking for there, if we can provide that data, again, just shoot us an email and we'll try to provide the data for you. No problem. Any other questions? Hang on for a minute here. Okay, I wanted to look. Let's see. Is there more fine-grained data on the types of housing beyond owner-occupied and rental? We would have to look into that. Most of the housing is broken down into those two categories: owner occupied and renter occupied. Those are the two major breaks. I'm not sure off of the cuff whether or not there's more detailed breakout within each one. I'm sure there probably is. We can certainly take a look at it. And again, there's our contact information. Let's see. Thank you very much for your comments. Again, this presentation will be posted to our conference webpage. I dropped the links in the chat a couple times as more and more people joined the meeting. Not only will the PowerPoint be up there, but this recording will be up there as well for you to refer back to. Let's see, is there any data on the number of foreign-born? Yes, not that specific, but this is a labor market spotlight on foreign-born workers. Oh, okay, so one of our staff sent something related to a labor market spotlight on foreign-born that might be helpful. If you need anything more specific related to foreign born, of course, contact us and we'll do what we can to get the data to you. Thank you, everyone, for your nice comments. We appreciate the support. Yes, the data sources we have in the presentation itself. Most of this comes from the apportionment data, the redistricting data release, and the demographic and housing characteristics Part A release. So those are the sources of our data. We did not cover anything from the American Community Survey. Those are additional characteristics, and we may do a future webinar based on ACS data. That's okay. We're going to post this. If you just joined, we're going to post this recording to our webpage. I'll send a link out to everyone to where it's located. So you'll be able to access not only the PowerPoint, but the video recording too. Any other questions? Of course, we appreciate all the well wishes. Okay, then we're going to sign off. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and hopefully we'll produce some more of these webinars, and we'll invite you all to when we do. Thanks again.